It was bigger than
There's a lot to forgive. You're going to forgive a lot of things when that somebody can help you win a Super Bowl.
I wish we could have the owners here and, you know what I'm saying, get them real liquored up.
I've been with
I might spill the beans, but I'm telling you.
You're telling me you think the owner of the Redskins and the Eagles and the Cowboys are all sitting in the room and they're sitting there going,
who did the Saints pick?
Hey,
who is this guy?
We're not going to take Shedeur Sanders because we're afraid Deion. Get out of your mind.
We just said, I didn't say they think Deion going to take his job.
Mike Brown, the owner of the Bengals, ain't going to collude with anybody. There's no collusion with Mike Brown. They don't collude.
Collusion.
There's none. Zero.
Collusion.
Do you think these owners get together and sit there with a pipe and say, hey, we're not going to draft Shedeur Sanders?
Nah, they send a blacklist email under the table. Email chain. No Shedeur, no Shedeur, no Shedeur, no Shedeur.
And he would not have got drafted.
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. You ever watch something unfold and just feel your jaw drop? That's what happened the second Aqib Talib put it out there. Flat out accused the NFL of blackballing Shedeur Sanders. And listen, this isn't some internet rumor, this isn't some faceless blogger stirring up clicks. This is Aqib Talib, a Pro Bowl corner, a Super Bowl champion, a guy who spent his career inside NFL locker rooms, sitting across from coaches and GMs. He knows the politics, he knows how this machine works. And for him to sit there and say owners were actually sending out emails under the table, basically saying no Shedeur, no Shedeur, no Shedeur. That's not just a hot take, that's a bombshell. And it matters because this isn't just about one quarterback slipping in the draft. Every single fan who watched that draft day slide play out remembers the feeling, confusion, anger, embarrassment for the kid. How does a quarterback who throws for over 4,000 yards, 37 touchdowns, completes passes at one of the highest rates in the country? How does that quarterback fall all the way to the 5th round? It didn't add up then. And now, thanks to Talib, we're being told maybe it never was supposed to add up. Maybe the decision was made long before draft day even began. Think about the stakes here. The draft is supposed to be football's great equalizer. A kid works his whole life, proves himself on Saturdays, and earns his shot on Sundays. That's the promise. That's the dream every single fan buys into. But if Talib is right, if there really was a blacklist email chain making the rounds, then that dream is broken. That's not evaluation. That's manipulation. That's owners deciding behind closed doors who's allowed in and who gets left out. And when it's Shedeur Sanders at the center of this storm, it hits even harder. This isn't some fringe guy with shaky tape. This is Deion Sanders' son. The kid carried the weight of being primetime's quarterback, took more hits than any top prospect in recent memory, and still put up numbers that should have had scouts drooling. Yet we all watched in real time, as name after name got called before him. And the whole time fans kept asking, what's really going on here? Now Talib might have just given us the answer we didn't want to hear. That's why this moment matters so much. Because it's not just about Shedeur. It's about the league itself. About trust. About whether the NFL that we pour our passion into every Sunday is actually playing fair with the very players who keep it alive. If Talib is telling the truth, then draft night wasn't just cruel, it was rigged. And if it was rigged for Shedeur, who's to say it hasn't happened before? Who's to say it won't happen again? That's the weight of Talib's words. That's why fans like me can't just brush it off as trash talk. This feels bigger. This feels like something that could shake the NFL's foundation. And trust me, this is only the beginning. Let's strip away the noise for a second. Forget the politics. Forget the whispers about collusion. Let's just look at the football. Because when you do, the case for Shedeur Sanders as a top draft pick is absolutely undeniable. His resume? Bulletproof. Period. This is a quarterback who threw for over 4,000 yards, 37 touchdowns, led the entire nation in completion percentage. That's not hype. That's not projection. That's production. You don't luck your way into those numbers when you're running for your life every single snap. And that's the part people forget. Shedeur wasn't standing behind an Alabama offensive line with 5 NFL draft picks. He was taking snaps behind one of the worst protection units in the country, a line so porous it gave up 65 sacks. 65. Most quarterbacks would have crumbled under that pressure. Most would have been broken by week 6. But Shedeur? He kept getting back up, kept delivering strike after strike, kept dragging his team down the field when everything around him was collapsing. You want to talk toughness? That's toughness. You want to talk leadership? That's leadership. You want to talk about doing more with less? That's the definition right there. This kid earned every single yard the hard way. He wasn't gifted success. He fought for it. Every Saturday, every snap. Now compare that to some of the quarterbacks who went ahead of him. Guys with cleaner pockets. Guys with NFL caliber weapons all around them. Guys who faced maybe half the adversity Shedeur did. And yet somehow they get called pro-ready, while Shedeur gets nitpicked to death. How does that make sense? How do you punish the guy who proved he can thrive in chaos while rewarding the guys who lived in comfort? That's not evaluation, that's perception, and it's lazy. And let's be real, the media played into this too. Analysts love to recycle talking points. He takes too many sacks. He struggled against BYU. Over and over again, the same lines get thrown out there like they're gospel. But where's the context? Where's the acknowledgement that no quarterback in America was asked to survive what Shedeur survived? Where's the recognition that he still outperformed players who had every advantage? It wasn't there. Because once the narrative sets in, the machine just runs with it. But here's what makes this whole thing sting even more. Fans saw it. We watched the games. We saw the grit. We saw the accuracy, the poise, the way Shedeur controlled the offense. We knew this was a kid ready for the next level. And yet, on draft night, all of that was ignored. It wasn't about what he did. It was about how he was perceived. That's the injustice. Shedeur Sanders didn't fall because of his resume. His resume was flawless. He fell because the people making decisions chose to believe a narrative instead of the tape. And when you step back and look at it, it's impossible not to feel like the kid was robbed of the respect he earned. And if that's true, if perception really did outweigh performance, then we've got a much bigger problem brewing than just one quarterback's draft stock. Let's talk about the critics, because this is where the whole thing really gets under my skin. The way Shedeur Sanders has been nitpicked, dissected, and dragged through the mud compared to other quarterbacks is flat out ridiculous. You hear the same lazy talking points recycled again and again. Oh, but what about the BYU game? Like one bad outing suddenly erases an entire season of brilliance. Newsflash, every great quarterback has bad games. Tom Brady had stinkers. Peyton Manning threw 4 picks against the Dolphins once. Josh Allen still has games where he looks like he's forcing everything. But somehow, when Shedeur struggles in one game, that becomes the defining storyline of his career. That's not analysis, that's bias. Then you hear the sack argument. He takes too many sacks. Really? You mean the quarterback who was running for his life behind one of the weakest offensive lines in the country? The kid who got sacked 65 times and still found a way to throw for over 4,000 yards and nearly 40 touchdowns. If anything, that stat should be flipped on its head. That's not a weakness. That's evidence of elite toughness. That's proof he can deliver in absolute chaos. Most quarterbacks would have folded. He didn't. He stood tall, took the hits, and kept firing. But instead of giving him credit, the critics spin it as a flaw. That's the double standard in action. And don't even get me started on the level of competition line. That's the go-to excuse when the numbers are too good to ignore. Well, he played at Colorado, not in the SEC. Okay, but didn't he torch multiple ranked teams? Didn't he go toe-to-toe with programs stacked with NFL-level talent? And even if the competition was supposedly weaker, how come other quarterbacks from similar programs get praised and hyped while Shedeur gets discounted? We've seen smaller school quarterbacks rise before. Carson Wentz, Trey Lance, even Josh Allen came out of Wyoming. They all got the upside label. Shedeur gets slapped with not proven. Why? What's the difference? I'll tell you what it is. The Sanders name. That's the elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about. This isn't just about Shedeur. This is about Deion. The NFL establishment has never been comfortable with someone like Coach Prime, outspoken, magnetic, a guy who controls the narrative instead of letting the league spin it. They've watched what he did at Colorado, how he flipped an entire program on its head overnight, and they're terrified of what that same energy could do in an NFL locker room. Control. That's what this is really about. Not talent, not performance, control. And it's infuriating because you can feel the double standard oozing through every critique. Other quarterbacks get excuses. Shedeur gets crucified. Others get called raw but promising. Shedeur gets called overhyped. Others are allowed to fail, to stumble, to grow into the role. Shedeur isn't even allowed to breathe without somebody saying, "See, he's not ready." It's relentless, it's unfair, and it tells you everything you need to know about how he's been judged. And here's the thing, when you're judged by a different set of rules, it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how strong your resume looks. The deck is stacked. And that's exactly what Shedeur has been up against from the very beginning. You know what separates good players from legends? It's how they respond when the deck is stacked against them. And this is where Shedeur Sanders' story takes a turn. Because instead of folding after draft day, instead of sulking or throwing blame, he turned the disrespect into fuel. He's been fighting through the fire ever since. From the very first day he stepped into that locker room, Shedeur carried himself like a professional. Teammates noticed it. Coaches noticed it. The body language wasn't of some wide-eyed rookie hoping to survive. It was of a quarterback who already believed he belonged. And the crazy part? He backed it up on the field. Preseason flashes, quick decisions, command at the line of scrimmage, the poise you'd expect from a 10-year vet, not a kid who'd just been told by 32 teams that he wasn't worth a first-round pick. And let's talk about work ethic, because this is the piece casual fans don't always see. Shedeur isn't just talented, he's relentless. First guy in the facility, last one to leave, constantly in the film room, always refining his mechanics. That's not hype, that's the truth coming out of camp reports and teammate testimonials. He's obsessed with proving that his game translates, and when you watch him you see the football IQ shining through. He processes defenses quickly. He manipulates safeties with his eyes. He doesn't just play quarterback, he studies it, masters it, and that's what makes this whole redemption arc so powerful. Because every rep, every throw, every drive, you can feel the weight he's carrying. He knows the league doubted him. He knows they whispered behind the scenes. But instead of breaking him, it's sharpening him.
You see it in the way he commands huddles. You see it in the way veterans rally around him. There's a respect factor there that rookies don't just get handed. He earned it. Here's the thing. Some players need the red carpet. They need to be pampered, handed the keys, told they're the guy. But the great ones are forged in adversity. Look back. Jalen Hurts got benched on the biggest stage in college football, then fought his way to becoming an MVP candidate in the NFL. Lamar Jackson was told he should switch to wide receiver, and now he's got a league MVP and is still rewriting the rules of the position. Those guys didn't shrink from the doubt. They thrived on it. And Shedeur Sanders is walking that same path right now. He's not just surviving the fire, he's becoming stronger because of it. And for fans, that's what makes this story worth believing in. Because if the league really did try to hold him down, if they really did try to bury his future before it started, then every snap he takes, every touchdown he throws, becomes payback. And you can't script a better redemption arc than that. Here's the truth. If the NFL really did blackball Shedeur Sanders, if owners really tried to keep him down, it might be the biggest mistake they've ever made. Because you don't bury someone like Shedeur. You don't silence a Sanders. You just hand them the fuel they need to come back stronger. And that's exactly what's about to happen. The payback is coming. And when it hits, it's not going to be quiet. It's going to be loud, it's going to be undeniable, and it's going to embarrass every single front office that thought passing on him was the safe move. Imagine the moment, a 5th-round pick, a so-called afterthought, outplaying the very quarterbacks taken in the 1st and 2nd round. Imagine him lining up on Sundays, going toe-to-toe with the guys the league supposedly wanted more, and straight up outshining them. That's not just payback, that's legacy building. We've seen this script before. Russell Wilson slipped to the 3rd round. Dak Prescott went in the 4th. Tom Brady, the GOAT himself, fell all the way to the 6th. Each one of those guys turned draft day disrespect into motivation, into fire, into history. And Shedeur Sanders, he's got that same energy, that same chip, multiplied by 10, because this wasn't just doubt, this was sabotage. If he really was blackballed, then every snap he takes now is a chance to prove that collusion can't stop greatness. And here's what makes it even scarier for the doubters. Shedeur isn't just chasing success for himself, he's carrying the Sanders name. He's carrying the legacy of Dion, of Coach Prime, of everything that family represents, swagger, resilience, and proving people wrong when the lights are the brightest. That's in his DNA. That's what he was built for. So picture this, the same league that tried to push him down is going to have to watch as he climbs step by step, turning every slight into a statement. Every touchdown becomes a message. Every win becomes a reminder. Every highlight is proof that the blacklist couldn't hold him back. And fans like us, we're not just watching it unfold, we're part of it. Because the more we rally, the more we support, the louder this movement gets. That's why I'm telling you right now, don't sleep on Shedeur Sanders. Don't let the narrative fool you. Believe in the fire. Believe in the fight. Because if there's one thing the Sanders family does better than anyone, it's proving the world wrong when the pressure is at its peak. The NFL thought they could write his story. They thought they could control the ending. But they forgot one thing. Legends don't get written out. They write themselves in. And Shedeur Sanders, he's just getting started.